What's up, YouTube? Team Movies here with this new John Travolta film called The Fanatic hitting theaters this week. Since it stars John Travolta, who pretty much plays like this unstable guy who ends up stalking his favorite actor. I decided to go ahead and do my top 10 favorite stalking movies. Now, I never had a stalk or anything, but with everything going on in the world, like you'll hear so much on the news of celebrities, being stalked and all, and stalking it's not cool at all. But there has been some really awesome stalking movies around and all. So with that being said, here's my 10 favorite stalking films. All right, coming in at number 10 is going to Tony Scott's film The Fan. Now, the film stars this man named it stars Robert De Niro as this guy named Gil Renard, who has like a different volatile personality, and it ends up resulting in a divorce and a strained relationship with his young son-in-law. And the one thing that he really cares more than anything is baseball, and and he's like very passionate about baseball and all, and so he ends up being very obsessed with this baseball player named Bobby Rayburn, played by Wesley Snipes, and he pretty much ends up stalking Bobby because he's really he's very obsessive with the guy and so, Renard's personal life ends up continuing to crumble as he begins to tracking Rayburn down, which also leads to, he tries to kidnap him, and he even kills people in order to get close to this guy. I mean, Robert De Niro, out of all quarters of his career, he's played creepy roles. Like, I got literally not one, but two roles, like two Robert De Niro films in this list. And The Fan I really quite love The Fan. It's a really great Tony Scott film. It's a classic Tony Scott, a great crime thriller. It's a great mystery thriller. Very like the guy. Renard is very obsessive over this guy, and he'll stop at nothing to pretty much to have this baseball guy or to himself. I mean, he's a very repulsive fan. And sadly, to say that stuff like this really do happen in real life, where real life celebrities ends up getting stalked, and eventually also they end up getting murdered too. If you guys know the news of Rebecca Schaefer when she got stalked by when she got murdered by her stalker. I mean, stuff like this really happens in real life, which I feel sorry for celebrities because stuff like this is really scary. But anyway. Yeah, if you guys never seen The Fan with Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes, go check The Fan out. It's a really good one. Alright. Coming in at number 9 is going to The Crush. Now, it's about this 14-year-old named Darren, played by Alicia Silverstone, who pretty much flirts with this journalist named Nick Elliott, played by Carrie Ellis. And he ends up renting the guest house of a wealthy couple. And the family's 14-year-old daughter, flirts with him and becomes obsessive. And so Carrie Ellis' character, Nick, is trying to tell her to back up because she is underage and all, and he doesn't play that game. But when he of course rejects Of course, when he rejects Darren, Darren becomes obsessive and becomes stalking the guy. This movie is nuts. I mean, you got Carrie Ellis in this, Princess Bride guy. Who doesn't love Carrie Ellis? Then you got Alicia Silverstone. This movie got released 3 years or 4 years after Clueless. So technically, this was actually her breakout role. If you really want to look at it that way. I mean, The Crush is a really interesting thriller. It's a nice cat, like it's part a cat and mouse thriller. Alicia Silverstone. I thought, I mean, I don't know how old she was at the time, but if she was pretty underage, this is a really grown up role for an underage girl like Alicia Silverstone. But still, I mean, The Crush is one interesting film, man. If you guys haven't seen The Crush yet, definitely give that one a go. All right.
I really enjoy a lot.
Coming in at number 8 is going to be a film called Ingrid Goes West. Now, this film stars Aubrey Plaza as this unhinged social media stalker named Ingrid Dorburn, who has pretty much a history of confusing likes for a meaningfully relationship, and so she ends up being obsessed with this Instagram star named Taylor Sloan, played by Elizabeth Olsen, who's pretty much an Instagram famous influencer, and Ingrid ends up moving to LA so she could be close with Taylor and it goes and she goes from a BFF to what the F, like she does crazy stuff like you know she tries to sabotage Taylor's relationship with her husband, played by Russell, and she even tries to kidnap Taylor's brother, played by Billy Manguson. I think that's his name. This is a really interesting film. I mean, it's a dark comedy. It's great performances by Aubrey Plaza. Probably her best performance in my opinion. I liked Aubrey Plaza in this. You know, you also like Elizabeth Olsen was terrific in this. Wyatt Russell. You had Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson Jr. was in this. I mean, I think Aubrey Plaza probably could have gotten an Oscar nomination for this because she was actually that good in this movie. Like, if you guys still never seen Angry Goes West, it's a film released by Neon, directed by a newcomer named Matt Spicer, who won an Independent Spirit Award for this film. Definitely go check out Angry Goes West. It's a really interesting flick. All right. Coming in at number 7 is going to 1 Hour Photo. Now, Robert Williams has done dramatic stuff before. Whether it's Good Morning Vietnam, which was still comedy, whether it's Good Will Hunting or whatever, he's done some really dark, dramatic turns. But Robert Williams, starred in a film called 1 Hour Photo, where he pretty much steps out of his character in this low-key thriller that also marked that was also the directorial debut of this music video director named Mark Romanek. Sorry for that. Anyway, in the film, Robert Williams plays this character named Seymour Cy Parrish, who runs a photo processing department at a large discount store. And Cy is very dedicated to his job and all, and he also takes great pride in his work and all. But Cy's favorite customers are this couple named Nina and Will Yarnikin, played by Connie Nielsen and Michael Barton, who's pretty much a young couple who also has a kid with them as well, named Jake, played by Dylan Smith. And he begins to be very, Cy pretty much dotes on the Yonkins and their son whenever they drop by and all, and so what the couple don't know is that Cy is a very desperate lonely man with no life of his own and all, and he pretty much he also makes copies of their photos, and he begins stalking them through photographs, and he's kind of an unstable guy, and it's probably one of Robert Williams' most darkest roles. I think it's probably one of his most underrated, underappreciated roles too. I love Robin Williams in this. You know, Mark, Ram- Martin Eric did a great job at directing. Connie Nielsen was great. Micah Vartan was amazing. Yeah, it was a really interesting, dark turn for Robin Williams. I mean, we know Robin Williams as the comedic guy from Miss Doubtfire and Jumanji and all, but this is definitely not the Robin Williams you're used to seeing. I mean, if you guys never seen 1 Hour Photo, it's probably his. I think it's probably one of his. I think 1 Hour Photo is probably one of Robin Williams'
Season over. Like Rita. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think 1 Hour Photo is definitely one of Williams' most like underappreciated roles. Like I don't really hear people talk about 1 Hour Photo as they should. But if you guys never see 1 Hour Photo, it's a really decent one. All right. Coming in at number 6 is going to Fear. Now, Fear is one creepy film. Now, it's actually I think it's the acting debut, or probably just breakout role of Mark Wahlberg. Can't remember if it was this that was his first feature, or if it was Basketball Diaries, one of the two. But this was actually the movie that really put Mark Wahlberg on the map for most people. And it stars a very young Reese Witherspoon who plays this 16-year-old named Nicole Walker, who meets this 23-year-old named David McCall, played by Mark Wahlberg, at a Seattle nightclub, and she ends up falling in love with him. But David, he is like charming and all, but despite the age gap, he also wins over.
They are cool as shit. We're back.
He ends up winning over the people's family, but then something insane ends up happening that breaks off their relationship, and so he ends up starting to stalk Nicole and her family and all. The movie was directed by. It was directed by.
You're all like, yo, and then
The film was, of course, directed by James Foley, who. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, the film was directed by James Foley, who last directed those two 50 Shades sequel that got released, and of course he did Glengarry Glen Ross. I mean, Fear is definitely a very interesting role for Wahlberg. I mean, of course, it was the '90s where Wahlberg began his like rap career and all that, and this was definitely not the Mark Wahlberg that you're used to seeing. And Reese Witherspoon was pretty good in this. Wahlberg really went he pretty much stalked the entire family. And of course the sister in this, by the way, the one who plays Witherspoon's sister was played by Elisa Milano. So there's that too. I mean, yeah, Fear is one creepy film, and of course David gets his meat at the end. And yeah, if you guys never seen Fear yet, do yourself a favor, go check that one out. I mean, it's also I believe it was also a Reese Witherspoon's breakout as well. It's a really interesting flick.
I mean, you got the right away. No, apparently Jason said for
All right. Coming in at number 5 is going to Clint Eastwood's directorial debut, by the way, with a film called Play Misty for Me. Now, Play Misty for Me is about this radio show named Dave Garver, who becomes like a restless in his relationship with his girlfriend, played by Donna Mills, and he ends up going out and he ends up sleeping with a woman played by Jessica Warren, who he meets at a nightclub. And so, after the fact that he finds out that she was not an anonymous hookup, but she's also a obsessive fan, and she pretty much ends up wrecking his life, including his relationship and all that. I mean, Play Messy for Me got released in early 1970s, I think 1971. But I know it was definitely Clint Eastwood's directorial debut, and since then Clint Eastwood directed loads of other movies since then. Jessica Warren was creepy in this. But I thought she was really great. She had a great performance. Stuff that she did to like the stuff that she did to Dave was intense. I mean, and the movie was also featured Don Siegel. Don Siegel was in this, and I mean, she goes from the woman goes from an innocent like an innocent hookup to a psychopath throughout the film. And if you guys never seen Play Messy for Me, give that movie a shot. It's a classic and it's creepy. So yeah. All right. Coming in at number 4 is going to The Hand That Rocked the Cradle. Now this is a suburban horror story that stars Rebecca De Mornay as this unstable woman named Peyton, who ends up taking the job as a nanny in order to exact revenge on her employer. And she becomes, she of course ends up stalking the woman, and she's really unstable. And you also had Julianne Moore was in this, Annabella Sciorra. You have Matt McCoy, who and she like in it, Peyton ends up having a miscarriage and all, and so she ends up driving mad with rage, and she ends up posing as a nanny for this for this Bartel family and all, and so she ends up seducing the woman's husband, and she tries to wreck their relationship. I mean, Rebecca De Mornay was insane in this, but I thought she was really great. And Julianne Moore, had Moore had a really cool role in this. You also had Ernie Hudson, really cool cast. It was directed by the late. It was it was directed by the late Curtis Hanson, who I thought did a pretty decent job with this film. Really insane, creepy film. I mean, if you guys never seen The Hand That Rocked the Cradle, the woman Peyton, you would not want to babysit your kids. So yeah. All right. Coming in at number 3 is going to Single White Female. Now it's about this where this woman named Allison Jones, played by Bridget Fonda, who ends up being split from her fiance, played by named Sam Rossa, played by Sam Weber. And so she ends up welcoming a new roommate named Hedra Carlson, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. And so the woman ended up forming a quick bond, but Allison pretty much starts to rethink her engagement, and Hedra ends up growing very jealous and hostile, and so Allison ends up learning new details about Hedra's life and all, and Hedra ends up getting violent, and Hedra becomes a crazy psychopath. And yeah, Single White Female it's one insane film. I think it's probably one of Jennifer. It's one of Jennifer Jason Leigh's interesting performances. Bridget Fonda was great in this. You had Steven Weber, he was cool. It was directed by Barbara Schroeder, who did a good job at directing. It's a really insane thriller. Jennifer Jason Leigh becomes a psychopath throughout this whole film. I mean, yeah, crazy how she goes from somewhat innocent in Fast Times to an insane psychopath in Single White Females. So, yeah. Alright, coming in at number 2 is also going to be another Robert De Niro film, and that's going to Cape Fear. Now, Cape Fear, stars Robert De Niro as as pretty much this violent sex offender named Max Cady, who ends up being charged of rape. goes to jail for rape charges, and he spends like 14 years in prison. But like after he ends up being released, which why he got released is still beyond me. He ends up knowing about. He ends up pretty much stalking the attorney who put him away, and of course the attorney is played by Nick Nolte, and he also ends up stalking the guy's wife and daughter. Now, the wife is of course played by Jessica Lange, who did a good job at directing, while while the daughter is played by a very young Juliette Lewis. It's definitely a very creepy De Niro flick. It is based on a book. It's based on a 1962 thriller with Robert Mitchum, who by the way also appears in the movie too. So I kind of find that pretty cool. It's directed by Martin Scorsese, who I believe this movie came out like a couple years, like maybe 3 years before, like after Goodfellas got released. So hey, who doesn't love a good Scorsese flick? De Niro was just insane in this. I mean, he ends up trying to seduce Juliette Lewis's character. Yeah, this is one insane flick. Like, if you guys never seen Cape Fear yet, go check that one out. It's one interesting film. All right. All right, now. All right, now coming in at number one, the best stalking movie of all time is literally the film that makes a lot of people not even want to get married. My number one pick is going to Fatal Attraction. Now, lots of people will literally tell you, like people who have seen Fatal Attraction will tell you that this is seriously the movie that makes them not even want to get married. It's directed by Adrienne Lyne, and it's about this this New York law firm named Dan Gallagher, played by Micah Douglas, who's very happily married to his wife Beth, played by Ann Archer, and he also has a daughter as well. But things turn a very dark turn when he ends up having an affair with with pretty much this book editor named Alice, played by Glenn Close, and he tries to get things like get her back. He tries to get her to back off and all, but she doesn't really listen, and she tries to sabotage him and his relationship with his wife and all. And so yeah, I mean, it's a really crazy film. I mean, it features a rabbit foot. Yeah, you're not gonna want to look at a rabbit the same way. Glenn Close is one unstable woman. I mean, she does crazy stuff to Michael Douglas. I mean, this movie shows actually, this movie literally is the reason why lots of people try not to cheat on their spouses. I mean, before we had Gone Girl, there was Fair Attraction, and that was one insane film. I mean, if you guys never seen Fair Attraction by now, directed by Adrienne Lyne, give that one a go. It's one insane film. But that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. 10, The Fan. 9, The Crush. 8, Ingrid Goes West. 7, 1 Hour Photo. 6, Fear. 5, Play Misty for Me. 4, The Hand That Rocked the Cradle. 3, Single White Female. 2, Cape Fear. 1, Fair Attraction. Now, there's loads of other stalking movies that's also pretty decent and some not so good. There's the Jennifer Lopez movie, The Boy Next Door. Obsessed with Beyonce and Idris Elba. There's also The Gift with Joe Egerton and Jason Bateman. There's The Roommate with Leif Mesa and Mick Kelly. The Perfect Guy, Unsane, Swim Fan, Stalked at 17, Sleeping with the Enemy. Definitely not unforgettable. That movie stunk. When the Bout Breaks, which I quite got a kick out of. P2, the original Cape Fear, The Perfect Teacher, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Lots of stalking movies there are. But let me leave to you guys. What are some of your favorite stalking movies? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is C Movies signing off.